Welcome to Bases 90. This is an update, and this is an update from Marc Delantre. Now, he has got a Facebook page, and he has published this evening, or today, which is, again, during the lockdown, it's 21:30 hours, and it's the 15th of April, 2020. And this is basically a Bases News, and it's about this. It's this very serious situation, extremely serious situation, which a lot of people won't have a clue about. The basic context of this is that Chernobyl never actually went away. It never disappeared. It's always been burning. Now, I've been checking out with a couple of people this evening who know about nuclear things, and I've actually asked Marc to appear tonight to do this himself, to talk about his own article. But he's too busy getting the hell out of wherever he is. The Chernobyl reactor isn't radioactive on the outside. The reactor mechanism itself was severely damaged, but the actual radioactive elements never went away. They simply burned down into the ground. Now, what the Russians did at the time, this is a long time ago, what the Russians did at the time was they dug down and they put a big concrete plug in the soil underneath the reactor. Now, the other little thing about Chernobyl is it was used to power the extremely high power woodpecker transmitter systems, which Tom Bearden, that's to say Mike Emery, and one of the other colleagues involved with that project in the United States, use the street grid, the grid, the water grid, the underground sewer and drain water grid as a scalar antenna to stop the Russian scalar warfare stuff all those years ago. Because what the Russians were doing with scalar energetics was to steer the basically cause weather warfare on the United States, and very few people know anything about scalar energetics, and the Russians know all about it, and it was called the woodpecker signal, and that's been discussed way back on Bases 2 with Ron Adams and a few other people. Very few people know about this. The radio amateurs know about it because they heard this woodpecker clacka, 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 because it was multi-frequency hopping right across the shortwave band, and one of the huge antenna systems was right beside Chernobyl, and Chernobyl was powering it at the time. Now, the basic story is that the energy reversal to hit those antennas caused an overload, which caused the reactor to go bang. And nobody knows about that either. So we have a situation now, it would appear, that deep state, that's Gladio. Now, Gladio is one aspect of the DVD, which is what Michael Shrimpton's written a very excellent book about, and nobody knows about that either. So the bottom line is, I'm not going to read this article, and it's about this, and I'm just going to read it. And there it is. There's the article itself, and well, I'll just go and read the article. So this is technical, and it's translated from the French. So apologies for any issues, but this is a well thought out article, and I'll leave the web page up while I do it. Okay, the fire near Chernobyl went out. It was planned that the fire would go out to then have rain and a soil that would soak up water, which will no longer be used by the trees which have burned. This will cause a landslide helped by Gladio. Now, Gladio is part of what Marc describes and talks about. Gladio is also a faction of the DVD. And if you want to understand the details of how this information is obtained, you've got to go to Marc's website. And you must understand that Marc gets his information from server traffic. So the Gladio code is something he's worked out, and there was a book about it, and we all explained that in Basis 90. Basically, what happens is he gets intelligence sent to him by the volume of server traffic. In other words, a lot of certain servers start becoming active, they come online, and they will then go on and off, and the traffic will move, and that is called basically what he calls the Gladio code. So there's no actual message sent to him. There's no actual message sent in any kind of scripted form, words or anything like that, this sort of stuff. What he has is he has a Morse type code, which he's able to interpret, and he's got it down to a T, okay? So that's what the Gladio code is. And the nasty people, which are elements of the DVD, are Gladio. So let's get back to this. Okay, the fire at Chernobyl went out. It was planned that the fire would go out to then have rain, and then soil will soak up the water, which will no longer be used by the trees, which have burned away. This will cause a landslide helped by Gladio, but explained by nature. In other words, they hope to basically get away with this crime by basically hiding it by natural catastrophic. So this landslide will cause a huge nuclear explosion. Okay, how's this going to happen? When the reactor exploded in 1986, its core, the nuclear reaction, was still active and was going to melt everything in its path, going down to the ground. This catastrophic situation is called the China syndrome, an insoluble situation for any nuclear power plant even today. So the Russians immediately dug under the Chernobyl reactor, pouring a large layer of concrete and hoping to cool the core of the molten reactor, which is called corium. It's a kind of nuclear lava which burns and therefore melts everything in its path. The risk in this situation is that the corium will no longer be stopped. The Russians therefore hoped that the corium would be stopped by these works under the reactor, but the corium did not stop, and the Russians think that it did stop. However, above all, they told the world that the danger was over, yet it is not. So we'll give you a little bit more of that. However, man has no way, even today, to know what it is. Later, the man therefore added an enormous sarcophagus of concrete and steel above the exploded plant to avoid radiation. Yes, but this sarcophagus was added while below. This is translated from the French. Yes, the sarcophagus was added above, while below the corium descended underground. So if you go there today, you'll see a big concrete cover on the reactor, but that danger is irrelevant. The danger is that the material is literally underground, deep underground now. It's been burning there for a long time. Okay, Gladio has been monitoring the corium for decades. It went down very, very deep under the power plant, several kilometers deep. If nothing stops it, it can explode the entire Earth or cross the entire Earth. This is the reason for its designation, the China syndrome. In reality, the corium would not cross the Earth, but depending on what it encountered, it would eventually explode, taking the Earth with it. So to avoid losing the whole Earth, Gladio has decided to detonate this corium now. Now would seem to be now, i.e. imminent. So to avoid losing the whole Earth, Gladio has decided to detonate this corium now, putting the responsibility on man and his nuclear power plants, because man will remember this corium he tried to stop and that he claimed to have stopped. 2, on the nature which will, in theory, be the source of the explosion. This is, again, basically mankind the responsibility on mankind and his nuclear power plants will be on mankind's responsibility. Okay, this is a little bit chopped up English. And nature, i.e., it will be blamed on a natural explosion. Ergo, Gladio will get away without any blame. Mind you, there may not be anybody left to blame this German intelligence agency, Gladio. Yes, but the explosion this is not really easy to speak. Yes, but the explosion now of this corium will create in this place a huge volcano of nuclear lava or corium, and the lava of the earth, magma, which will be expelled in the air and going down on the great majority of Europe. The entire region around Chernobyl will become a lava lake for tens of kilometers in diameter. In addition, earthquakes of 8, 9, and 10 will be caused throughout Europe and Russia, whose cities will be completely destroyed and possibly impacted by radiation. It will also cause very violent tsunamis on all the seas in Europe and other violent earthquakes around the world. All volcanoes in Europe will also light up again. I received this information in a very specific way, but written and of certain origin. In addition, the scenario and this hypothesis do not exist anywhere because the man considered this is okay. I received this information in a very specific way, but was written and of certain origin. That's to say, he is imperative that the origin of this material is certain. In addition, the scenario and the hypothesis does not exist anywhere because man has never considered it. Chernobyl has been buried. It's a finished problem. Right, but the corium can only go down and no coffin can resist it. In other words, nothing can stop this material continuing to burn into the earth. This is the known risk of any nuclear power plant, thus the China syndrome, the ultimate nightmare. Chernobyl is perhaps only one aspect of Gladio's apocalyptic projects, since before there was also talk of an asteroid. Now, I've talked to certain people in the secret space program, and they're saying that these guys, the dark state, are so desperate they'll try anything. They'll try apocalyptic situations to. Right, if we can't have what we want, we're going to screw the rest of you. There's more eloquent language on this. Now, this is sort of James Bond stuff, but it does seem to have, validity here. So Chernobyl is perhaps only one aspect of Gladio's apocalyptic projects, since before there was also talk of an asteroid. However, and now the point about that is the secret space program has been working on asteroids. That's to say, active warfare on an asteroid in the last month. Right. However, on this subject, it has never been anything but assumptions due to the images and symbols sent by Gladio to make me think of asteroids. In this case, Chernobyl, it is infinitely clearer, terribly terrifying, above all the fault of man. In fact, I just understood something. The asteroid scenario could very well have been designed by Gladio so that I speak of the apocalypse in a credible way, thinking of an asteroid. I could speak of an apocalypse created by Gladio and via a technically possible event, but this scenario was nonetheless fictitious and had to be replaced by the real scenario when the time came. It is therefore quite possible that this is because the Chernobyl hypothesis is very likely to be true and mankind could not prove the contrary. Now, we are still April the 15th, the anniversary of the Notre Dame fire. Two of Gladio's signals are increasingly terrible. Two of Gladio's signals are increasing terribly, and I don't know when they will stop. At the time of the Notre Dame fire in 2019 at 6 p.m. Will they be accompanied by something? It is impossible to say. It stresses me out, and I'm waiting. Now, you'll have to see. In any case, I remind you that the previous article in Marc Delantre at 2020-04, the Chernobyl incendiary.8, I will put this up. It explains why Chernobyl is so important, and in particular that it is mainly on the red line of Gladio's apocalypse. So who is Gladio? The army of God, the Elohim, God in Hebrew, are real creators. They want to save their planet, even if it means destroying our civilization, which in their eyes no longer represents anything, both for its lies about our origins and for the lies of religions, and above all, the continuous destruction of the earth. See all my other articles, as well as those on the function about the Antichrist. Gladio verbatim asked me to publish this article. I believe this hypothesis really is possible. In any case, much more than the asteroid. I responded to orders received. I can only invite you to pray. That's it. And there's the guy, there's Gladio himself. So viruses and 2 years now in lockdown that the Scottish National Party are talking about. And we know that the Scottish National Party, the SNP, is actually part of the instrumental installation of MK Ultra, founded by the basis of MK Ultra programming. So if you're in Scotland, you're getting it first. Update on this.
Mailbox settings 1. Saved message 8:31 p.m.
Miles, Michael, the river that is the Pripyat River, which is a tributary of the Dnieper. So it's not the Don, it's the Dnieper. And the Pripyat is a tributary. There may be something in what your source is saying, because there are large wildfires. I've overlooked that. In all the concentration on coronavirus, I scarcely looked at the wildfires, but there are wildfires threatening the reactor site. Possibly as close as a mile. The latest report is 2 miles. Those fires are probably started deliberately. Most wildfires are. So we have someone starting, I'd assume, starting large-scale fires. Now, I don't think Ukrainians are claiming the fires are under control. The Ukrainians are no more reliable than Whitehall. So that may be bullshit coming out of Kyiv, which is not actually a million miles from Chernobyl. It's certainly a lot closer to Kyiv than it is to Minsk. I don't know. It looks as though somebody set fires with a view to threatening the containment site. How a wildfire is going to cause a release of radioactivity or not, I don't know. The site, the shell over the number 4 reactor, it was the number 4 reactor. The shell of the number 4 reactor ought to be fireproof, certainly against an ordinary bushfire. I can't see that would cause the containment to fail. Now, I suspect the Russians are keeping a very close eye on that, because if there were a containment failure, clearly Russia would be affected, bearing in mind the prevailing winds. Now, I think the prevailing winds, presumably someone set the fires with a view to causing release of radiation into Russia, because that's where the prevailing winds will be likely to take it. And it looks as though the fires were set to the west of the site, obviously with a view to the wind carrying radiation into Russia. But it does seem to seem like an emergency. It looks as though it's under control, but as I say, there's no guarantee of that. I will certainly make a general query of Moscow, but I'm sure that as we are, give me a close eye on the situation. Cheers.
repeat.
Well, happy days. We'll see if I see my birthday. Who knows? Anyway, that's it. I think it's important to consider the reality of this fire now kilometers deep into the earth, and it's not going to go away. So I think maybe we should call international rescue. I think these are the only guys who could save the world now. We'll have to see. Anyway, that's a Basis 90 update, and I think we have to start considering these dark state threats seriously. And there are people in place who are carrying out their duties to stop a deep state and arrests and all that. But we've heard a lot of that. We haven't seen too much evidence about it. And well, there it is.